Okay, so I recently made a video, like of a knee-jerk response video to JoJo's new song, Small Things. And I just want to start by saying that I've always been a fan of JoJo. I grew up listening to her. She has a beautiful voice. JoJo, you have a wonderful voice. I wanna I wanna admit to I think my knee jerk reaction was fear based. I think it was fear based. And now more than ever, as I do my own internal root work and deep, deep, deep self reflection, which I love because it's helped me to transform to the point to where I am today and still going because it's a journey, not a destination. I realized that fear really does kind of pollute the lenses. It'll make you kind of read things funny, hear things funny. Um, Faith and fear are both lenses that we're looking through, but they're like one and the same. It's fascinating. Like, we divide them because I think we have this obsession with dividing the body, us, into parts when this is in fact the universe. Una being one. I like to say like one verse, one beat, one rhythm, one pulse, one story. So I have a fascination with figuring out how to combine and fuse together divided parts because in my mind it's always bothered me. um Conflict has always disturbed me, and and I think it's just because I'm one of those weird people that believes that now I know that there's an obvious life force holding us all together. Like there is. You can see it every day. Like we're kind of mirroring each other. It's just sometimes we're afraid of each other because we're dealing with our own stuff. But I like to be like the emulsifier that binds different opinions together because I think that's what the life force, that's what love does. And for those of you who want to know what an emulsifier is, because I love metaphors because it helps to illustrate a point. But like the cosmetic industry will know what I'm talking about. Like um, oil and water do not mix. So that statement gets used a lot, like, oh, we're oil and water. We're just never, because I've even used that statement before. But then I stop and I ask myself, what is it exactly that makes me not, like, if I'm oil, why don't I mix with water? And if I'm water, why don't I mix with oil? Because this is one body, remember? So an emulsifier is fascinating because when you add emulsifier, so when people are making lotion and they're combining the water element to the oil element, they add like beeswax or they add soy wax and it binds it. It binds the oil and water together. It's that extra component that binds those two. So that's what I like to think about whenever I'm approaching people. And it always, if I approach in a way, I'm not going to say that I approach the wrong way because I think that our perception of wrongness kind of makes us feel shame when we make mistakes, but we're learning to walk. So I like to examine how could I have communicated more efficiently with this person who may not have connected to what I said. And the answer is dropping the self. It's always lowering, not lowering, but surrendering my own ego, surrendering how I like to receive information because I know how I like to receive information and it's too much. It needs, now I love simplification now. I used to be like, oh, simple means dumb. Like, no, that was wrong of me too. Like, there's a lot. Why do you think Yoda is so powerful in his one line statements? It's because in any statement, even in one word, so much universal truth can be pulled out. So, anyway, let me get back on track. At first, when I listened to JoJo's song, I kind of like freaked out because of the timing of it being launched. with everybody like in a state of panic, and a lot of people are in pain. And I think I read her statement the wrong way whenever she said she dedicated it to the Black Lives Matter movement, and specifically she wanted to write to them to show her appreciation for like our support, because she is like growing up singing R&B and having that soulful feel. Like she said that she's always had a lot of support in the black community. So something that kind of freaked me out when I listened to the song, and I'm gonna look at the lyrics. The I'm good and good at holding it in, all my emotions, all my feelings, but the more that I fight them, the bigger they seem. What really kills me is all the small things. So at first when I heard that, I was like, okay, like why are we being encouraged to be basically defeated by small things? And so, and I'm gonna play the clip that I'm talking about, like my knee jerk response at first. And but today I woke up and I feel a little bit different. Like I kind of shifted my perspective, and I realized that her lyrics are beautiful and they are valid and they are true. And what I did was I read her lyrics from like what my body would say to me. Like I like to do grounding techniques to calm my anxiety. So a lot of the time, to bring me back into reality and perspective when the outside is overwhelming me, I'm like, what would my body say to me right now? And or what would the creator, the designer of my body say to me right now? And quite honestly, those lyrics, they fit. Like if my body could honestly say, I'm getting good at holding it in, all my emotions, all my feelings, but the more that I fight them, the bigger they seem. What really kills me is all the small things. The city has your fingerprints all over it, and I can't even think about how someday she will too. Like meaning like if our body was talking to us about how all of these outside things that we're so focused on, rather than taking care of and loving ourselves, I could see where that fits. Like our body saying, and I can't even think about how someday that outside event will matter more than me. And so, and I think that's living proof that even in our pain, we can see how the ultimate unconditional lover feels about us when we are turned away, or when we are going through a hard time. We're not grounded, we're not rooted, we're just like freaking out. Everything else is like way more important. And JoJo wrote this song from a very powerful perspective, because even as a person going through something and you're just trying to love somebody and you're just trying to be there, and you're like watching people just reject you and like run away, and you're just stand there and you're just like, I'm just trying to get over this heartbreak, but I know that you don't care. You just keep doing you regardless. It is a very valid feeling. It is. And I would be a hypocrite if I said like I've never felt like that. Like quite honestly, like those are very valid. I think I just wanted people to understand that even when you're broken, I dare you to love. Like Kelly Clarkson's song. Like they all kind of fit. It's like, yes, we feel these feelings, but we are 100% equipped to fly even when we don't feel like it. Our brain, it's called like it's plastic neuroplasticity, which means that our brain is always constantly evolving and tweaking. Even when we feel like we're not growing, we are. Even in our darkest pits of pain, we are putting on muscle. We are recalculating. Like when you think about a GPS, when it's like going the wrong way and it's making a mistake and it says recalculating, our design is always doing that all the time. And so I think that sometimes when people are in a dark place or in a really, really stressful place, it feels like that's all there. It feels like that's going to be permanent. And I know because I've been there. And also it feels like it feels like worse because sometimes you don't understand what's happening. I think when people don't understand what pain is, they don't have an appreciation for it, so they fear it, so they try to avoid it at all costs. So eventually, in my own pain, I put two and two together that in a way, like, I put two and two together that, like, it was kind of literally turning me into Captain Marvel, like, literally. And once I learned to appreciate it and not fear it, I look at challenges and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be a phoenix after this. And I think it's a powerful testament that our design is always working out in our favor, even when we don't feel like it, for the same reason why detoxing the body hurts. Like physically, like when you get off sugar, you feel like you're dying at first. And so some people, when they detox, they don't know that the reason why they feel sick is because all of the deep rooted toxins are flooding and going into the bloodstream like all at once. So that's why you feel lightheaded and dizzy. So some people panic and then they go back to eating the way they were because they think that something is wrong when they feel all of those, they feel like their body is breaking down. But it really is true that sometimes when we're experiencing the greatest points of pain, it is a literal reflection of how like it gets worse before it gets better. And that's true all the time. And so now that I can say that from a well-rounded and understanding and holistic perspective instead of my own knee-jerk fear, which is like, it's like I have this fear of fear because, which is still fear. You shouldn't even fear. It's because I don't like it when people are in a dark place, or if they don't believe in themselves, or if they're struggling with self-doubt. Like, I just want to be that hand. I want to be a bridge. I want to be a light at the end of the tunnel. So, and it's not even just, it doesn't even have to be me. It's just, I know that trauma is difficult. And when I'm in a certain state of peace, I get sad again watching other people stress out because I have amazingly overcome a lot and I have been able to find joy. And I know that joy is possible. And so sometimes when I see people stressed, it makes me sad. And so, in me trying to fight for them, sometimes I come off too aggressive. And I think that that shows where I need to learn to discipline myself more and to be gentle even when we're trying to save somebody. It is definitely a skill that I'm still working on. I don't want to scare people off. I'm one of those crazy people that believes that I can get along, you can get along with anybody. We can get along with anybody if we're just willing to work on the skills necessary to communicate, which does involve dropping your own sense of self and just figuring out what the other party that you're speaking to, what do they need? Communication skills, how do they need it to be communicated to? I don't like people feeling like they can't talk to me. It's just how I like to be. And so I'm always wondering, gosh, what is it that repelled that person? How could I have said it better? How could I have made it hit home more? So yeah, anyway, JoJo, it is a beautiful song. It is. And your song helps me because, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and I know without a doubt that my diagnosis makes sense because I have struggled with my self-worth my whole life. Like, so I was bouncing back and forth between faith and fear, and I was bouncing back and forth between like I think I know my self-worth, but never mind, I'm crap. I think I know my self-worth, but never mind, I'm crap. Like, yeah, nature is bipolar, polar opposite sides, back and forth, back and forth. So like, but when we commit, like if we commit to faith, if we commit to self-love, if we commit to knowing that we're worthy and we're complete, then that's faith. And so there's no reason for two steps forward and one step back and two steps forward and one step back. We kind of drive ourselves crazy. Like, a kettle boiling over. And so I think that's why life makes us move, even whenever we don't feel like we're ready to move. Similar to how a mama eagle like kicks a baby eagle out the nest because like it knows it's ready to fly. Like life always knows that we're ready to fly even before we feel like we're ready, because we are. Our design is designed to recalculate. But anyway, I just wanted that to be a note of very humbled encouragement. I wanted to correct and address my own tone, because my intention is to, for all of us to heal, us, healing. Like, what is it that will help us as a collective whole heal? And we do have to be able to communicate and set our differences aside and figure out what it is that actually connects us all. Because in the hardship, it's quite evident what connects us all. Like even in the pandemic or just craziness, we are kind of forced to drop our little cubicles and cliques, and we're forced to serve and help each other. And I think that that is so beautiful. But anyway, I'm gonna go now. I love you, fam.